Okay, y'all, I'm back for episodes 8, 9, and 10. That's right. Oh, Lord Jesus. Yes, y'all, I'm here for episodes 8, 9, and 10. We got a lot to unpack, y'all. Fathers seem to be a recurring theme. Everybody having daddy issues. So I guess we're going to unpack the daddy issues, okay? So episode 8 is Still I Rise. So, I forgot also, I have to talk about Meg, and I have to talk about Crystal. I have to talk about Crystal and Jace, because I don't think I talked about Crystal and Jace and their situation in none of my videos. So we're going to talk about all of that while we wrap up season 1. So this may be a lengthy video, guys. Maybe we'll just see how it goes. Episode 8, Still I Rise. So, y'all, the guy's name was George Floyd. As you can remember in the last episode, I could not remember his name or nothing. His name was George Floyd, okay? So episode 8, Still I Rise. So basically, after everything has come out with Crystal has now told her mom what has happened to her experience. She told Jace that her and some other girls were going to testify against the coach. And so she was handling that. She also has started therapy. But in this episode, Crystal decides to try and move forward with, what happened to her. She has left PG Prime, and she now is coming to try out for Swagger. And I just was trying to wrap my head around, I'm thinking, oh, well, why Crystal gonna leave her girls team and gonna play with all boys? But then it dawned on me, I think not only because Crystal and Jace were friends, but I think Crystal kind of joined Swagger because she knew that if she was on the team with Jace, nothing could happen to her. And that's just what I think. I strongly feel that way. I strongly feel that way. By this time, how many times did Crystal and Jace kiss? I think they kissed one time. They had a conversation prior and was like, every time we decide we just gonna be friends, we end up kissing. So, I think, by the time she joined Swagger, they have only kissed one time. But you could tell, there are some feelings that, are there and have been there for a while because they grew up together, It's the puppy dog. I don't want to say puppy dog. It's puppy love, you know what I'm saying? I don't know why they call it puppy love, but it's puppy love. Crystal and Jace, they friends. He told her that he was going to be there for her. He was going to protect her. He wasn't going to let nothing happen to her. And Jace is keeping up with his word. So Crystal, like the big dog she is, Crystal goes into Swagger practice saying, I want to try out for your team. I was like, I ain't got no spots left on my team. Crystal's like, I'm here to try out for the team. She was like, I'm the number 1 2 guard in the DMV. And so Meg is here for it because Meg is a girl's girl. Meg is out here saying, just because I'm a girl, don't think she ain't here to compete. Meg said, just because I'm a woman don't mean I ain't out here to advocate for my girls to compete, because just because she a girl, don't take her out. Don't sleep on her just because she's a girl, okay? Meg was like, if it's an issue, I can rearrange for Crystal to be on the team. But so Crystal goes, and the big dog Crystal walks up and challenged. He was like, Coach, this is gonna be my tryout. If I can score on 5 of your players, I'm on the team. If not, I'll walk. Crystal takes on Royal. Crystal takes on Royal, Drew, Phil, Nick, and then last was Jace, and she scored on all of them. So then, when she leaves, her and Jace are walking. her and Jace are walking, I guess, home, and she was just telling Jace how happy she is to be back playing basketball, how happy she is to be on the court, and you know, she called him a scrub and everything. And so she was just, you know, starting to get back to herself. And so she Jace tells her, because you know Jace is kind of like the captain of the team. Jace was like, you know, I'm not gonna be hard on you, right? No, he said, you know, I'm gonna be hard on you, right? And she was like, screw up, please. Like, she was not worried. Crystal was like, I have this all taken care of. All of this is nothing. It's really nothing. So he looked at her and was like, yeah, all right. And then they kiss. And so then he moves forward, and then he sees like the founder of the Grassroots come out of the mom's house. So I'm like, okay, so I know what I said about Jenna in prior videos, and I still stick with what I said about Jenna, but Jace was right about his mom. She always tries to find something, you know, wrong with the men who was in Jace's life. And it ended up costing, you know, Jace and Coach's relationship a little bit, because there was some unresolved things that Ike had going on, but Jenna kept trying to dig. And so she basically kind of put the battery in Jace's back to dig a little bit. And so that caused Jace and Ike to fall out. But since Jace and the guys have developed such this family mentality, like they all in for everybody. And when you have that on a team, that can never be, you never forget that. You never forget that. When y'all are a family, when y'all moving as one, everybody on the team moving as one, like when we locked in, ain't no switching up. Like, it's nothing. It's nothing. Okay? Like, that team chemistry was too legit. But yeah, so nobody knew exactly why Jace and Ike was out on the outs, but they knew. And so, since Jace made a promise to the team, he said he was going to follow through and he was going to continue to play with the team. He wasn't going to leave. He was like, but it's nothing but S's and O's. Like, this is strictly business, coach, nothing personal. And so, they had a few talks or whatever. And so, on the episode, the teammates return home as social media sensations face uphill climb to qualify for nationals. So we're around this time where it's getting close to nationals. We're probably like 6 weeks out, around episode 8. And episode 9 is called Follow Through. It says Ike and Jace set aside their differences to take on a former rival who stands between them and nationals. Okay, so before we dig into that, we gotta talk about Meg. Okay, so over the last couple of episodes, we have been introduced to Meg, and we've getting a little bit backstory between the relationship between her and her father. Meg and her father have not been on the best of terms throughout her life because of the simple fact that I think he said he was a coach for West Point, and if anybody don't know, West Point is like a military academy. He was in the service. He served his time in the service. I'm guessing Meg's mom and dad didn't have the best relationship. She did mention that her mom moved on and was with her boyfriend, and so the daddy basically had cancer in the past, beat cancer, but now he has cancer again. And so he has come back into the picture trying to make amends with Meg. But Meg is being kind of resistant, which I can't fault Meg because, you know, relationships are not easy. Whether they're platonic relationships, whether they're friendships with, you know, same sex, opposite sex friendships, whether they're romantic relationships, whether it's a parental relationship. Relationships in general are just complex. It takes a lot of work. And so Meg was being kind of stiff with her dad, kind of rigid. But her dad ends up coming to one of the games. And so, you know, he's kind of, you know, willing back in. So he tells Meg that she needs to come over. They need to have a conversation. He gives her all of these plays he had from West Point, and basically he tells Meg that they saying that the treatment ain't gonna work for him, and so basically he was trying to tell her that he might not have long to live. He told her that his conscience is clear. He don't feel bad about anything anymore because I guess he's gotten to the point where he's forgiven himself. He knows he's messed up. He's accounted for the decisions that he's made. But he just want to get, this last thing with Meg right. So, in the beginning, I don't know if I even mentioned it when I did my review of episode 1. But it was a lot going on, you know what I'm saying? But in episode 1, Ike got into an altercation with one of Meg's coaches when Meg was with Team All Day, and there was her assistant coach. Ike punched him in the face. So he went and got his own team, and so they had to play their team in order to win the whole DMV thing. So the number one thing that the number one issue with the coach was that Ike had with the coach was that he talked junk to Jace a lot and tried to get in Jace's mental. And Ike always told Jace that you are a phenomenal player. You are a force to be reckoned with, but you got to become mentally strong. If somebody can break you down mentally on the court, your game is jacked up. Because if you ain't right up here when you playing, you're not going to be right out here, like in front of everybody. You're not going to be right. And so it got to a point where it says Ike and Jay set aside the differences to take on a former rival who stands in between them and nationals. Okay, so at this point, Crystal is on the team. Crystal and Jace are like, moving forward with like everything. They be in practice, they practicing, whatever like that. So basically, Crystal is just, part of the game. Like, it's giving gang tease. So they're playing in a game, and I forget who comes out, but there's a sub, and Crystal comes in. And so they're running the plays. One of the dudes is kind of roughing up Crystal, and he doing it on purpose because she a girl, which Lord God knows that boy wouldn't have touched me the rest of the game. I don't know. I mean, I know men are physical. Like, I'm just gonna say this straight off the top. Like, I know men are physical when they play basketball, but I don't think men are as aggressive of a player as women are. I'm just gonna tell you that straight up. Like, the women's game is more fundamental because of just the fact that, like, women don't have all the tricks and dunks and stuff that men have. But that player wouldn't have touched me no more. He wouldn't have pushed me down or none of that. So, like, he would have did what he was supposed to do, and that's it. Guard me, and that's it. It wouldn't have been no pushing, cause he roughed Crystal up. He pushed that girl down on the ground. And let me tell you something. Chase was like, "You barking up the wrong tree." He yelling at the ref. He watching the floor. He watching Crystal. He playing the game. He watching Crystal. He said, "Don't you put your hands on her, no, ref. Get him." He putting his hands on her. He pushing her. That's a foul. Get her. Get him. Get him off of her. So the coach on the other team is seeing like Jason's getting riled up. And so he like, oh, must be something going on with them. Keep messing with her. So he gassing the player to keep messing with Crystal. Crystal is on the ground at this point. Chase is flying. Chase done dropped the ball. Chase is swinging. What's up? Like, Chase is ready to throw hands. Chase is ready to throw hands. So he riled up, the mama looking at Jackie, because everybody in the stands know what's up. They know they got a little crush on each other. They know how they feel about each other. They know it's a little something there. And so Ike looked at Meg, or Ike looked at Raheem. It was one of them. And Crystal gets up and was like, at this point, Chase is cussing because he is heated. Crystal gets up and tells Jace, "I can handle myself." And he's fussing at him. Jace is fussing at the player, And he fussing at Crystal. They can't do you like that. They can't do. She was like, I got me. Do you hear what I'm saying? Are you listening to me? I said, check it, Crystal, girl. Let him know, girl. You can hold your own, son. Let him know, son. Let him know. You can. Let me stop. I was too. It's like, listen. Let me calm down, because Crystal was like not having it. The claws were out. My girl said, I don't need you. Do you hear what I'm saying? I got this. I don't need you to come down. I can handle myself. So next thing you know, they do another play. Actually, before that, they run back down the court because the possession is happening. And the coach gonna say, trouble in paradise. But he said it real, like, you had to be listening in order to catch it. So then they run back down the court. The dude does something, and Crystal, I don't know if she passed the ball or she shoot the ball or something, and she ends up falling down on the ground again. Chase goes, that's their couple name, Chase. I'm naming them Chase, okay, guys? Crystal and Jace is Chase. Look, one half of Chase is on the floor and the other half is running to get Chase off the floor again. But he goes and he picks her up. And then next thing you know, he hit a play. And then he look at her and go like that. So now I know that when they did that in season 2, that's kind of the beginnings of where it started. But either way, the chemistry on the court, the chemistry had to get back right. So after that, they start playing hard. Next thing you know, Jace ends up going up, and one of the dudes is standing. I don't know if he was trying to dunk or what, but Jace ended up jumping over and falling over the player, and he fell and hurt his knee. So now this is bad because, Nationals is coming up. And so while we got that going, Musa keep calling. So Musa is calling. They keep having their little powwows on the side. And Royale and Nick is looking. Because they like, something's going on. So basically, Musa is getting close with Tamika. And Musa, his feelings starting to develop for Tamika. He's talking to her on the phone. At this point, Musa is still in California. He's been talking to everybody via FaceTime because the whole altercation they had with the coach got Musa like anxiety on 1,000. And so he's still over there, and he's telling people that it's the pandemic, which, it very well could have been a situation with the pandemic because a lot of people was going through a lot of things during the pandemic. It was a tough time for a lot of people, and people are still recovering as we speak to this day because of the pandemic. So Musa is still in California. He's talking to Tamika. He gets to know Tamika family. They're having dinner over FaceTime or whatever, having a virtual date. And so, come to find out, Tamika's father is a police officer, and he was working on the case with the department before everything started happening with the pandemic and everything. And so, he's saying, there's been talks, if you know anything, everybody keeps saying, if you know anything, let us know. And they're saying how hard it is to figure out what's going on because they don't have any evidence of who done it because everybody was masked up and wrapped up or whatever. So then, Musa talks to his father about Tamika. They have a fundraiser to raise money to go to Florida. The whole time, Jace's motive to go to Florida was so he can prove his point to his father because the father wrote a letter to Jackie a couple episodes back and told Jackie that he was in Florida. And so since the beginning of the season, Jace has been wanting to prove this point to his father that, why did you leave us? So basically he wanted his father to see what he was missing out on. And so, coming back to the letter, we knew that Jackie had been writing the father, but the mama didn't know. So the mama also finds out that Jackie wrote him a letter, he wrote back, and that they want to go to Florida and, talk to their father, try to get to know him or whatever, and it makes the mama upset. Back to Jenna. Jenna has been doing a lot of things because of that relationship that caused her a lot of sadness. And so she kind of feels betrayed by her kids because she was like, I'm the one who was there for you. I'm the one that's been doing everything for you. I'm the one that's made all sacrifices for you. I'm the one that's been there for you this whole time. And so she feels kind of slighted because they want to go and, talk to their dad. And she was just like, well, I didn't appreciate how y'all had to go behind my back to do it. And she kind of said it like in an aggressive manner. And so I think Jace was the one that told her, like, well, we didn't say anything because we didn't want you to be mad. And, after that, her tone had changed. And she was just like, I didn't want you to feel like, why do you feel like you need to do this? Like, he left us. And so that's what, it's a hard position to be in. Like, she was a single mother. She was there, and her children needed to know. And the father didn't. My camera died. So what I was saying was the father didn't make it no easier by not reaching out to the children and not being in the children's life. And then on top of that, the letter said that he had been living in Florida and he had another daughter. So it's basically like he kind of moved on. They kind of feel like their father moved on and without them and had another family. But the whole thing about that was the father initially told him in the first episode that he was only going to be gone a few days and he was going to come back. He went down there to be with his cousin. Let me see if it's going to stay because it's sliding. Stay. Maybe if I lean something. Let me try and pop y'all look. But yeah, so the father basically moved on and he told them in the beginning that he was going to come back in like 2-3 days and he was going to go down there with a cousin. But he stayed down there with a cousin. He never came back. So that causes so many issues for them because they feel like they have these feelings of unworthiness because of their father, And it's a sad place to be in because he said at the table when they got to Florida, he told Jackie that when she was 6. And 6 is old enough for a child to remember something like that. And Jace was 4. So if Jace was going to the 9th grade, that means Jackie was on her way to the 11th grade. So that's pretty big because now they're at these markers in their life where they've developed, they've matured, and now they can ask questions and hold him accountable for themselves. Going back to Meg's during that game that Jace hurt his leg in, the somebody from the hospital called Meg and her father was in ICU. So basically, at this point, I knew that her father wasn't gonna make it. And so when she came in there, I guess her father was in a medically induced coma and he was not, he was not alert. And so she basically goes in there and tells him how she feels. And she said, I know you can hear me. And so finally she gets to the point where she says that, I was so mad at you for the longest. I always wanted you there. This is what I wanted to avoid. I didn't want to have to come to terms with being here with you during this because it's just like you're leaving me again. And so then she said, but it's okay. Your baby girl is here. I'm here. She picked up his hand, held his hand. And I saw him take his breath and I was just like, oh my God. And then he just left. But I guess he was waiting for that. And he heard everything she said. And when she finally cleared him, he went on and was in peace. That part was sad. I'm not even going to hold you. That part was really sad. And so then she called, or they knew that she was at the hospital. So after the game, everybody went to the hospital, basically out there to support her. And they had flowers for her. And they called Musa. And so all of the team was there. I didn't see Crystal, though. But maybe I just didn't look hard enough. But everybody was there. And so then Ike took her, because, Raheem refers to Meg as Ike's work wife. And so Ike took Meg to the bar to have a beer with her, just to chop it up. And he was there to just basically comfort her and to talk to her to see where her head was at. And so she brought up the whole thing with Jace. And so he kind of opened up to Meg about the whole thing with Lester and his father or whatever. And throughout the season, Ike is still dealing with the processing, the grief of his father dying, because when his father died, they weren't on the best terms. But Meg kind of got back, good with her father before he died. And so now moving forward, since they won the whole DMV, Swagger DMV is now going to nationals. So they got to go to Florida. And so, of course, they raise money. Gladiator Shoes is... The rep from Gladiator Shoes has been in every single one of their games. Gladiator is supporting Dominion. But because of everything that was going on, Meg kind of read him his rights. Because she, in so many words, called him a sellout. Because he is black. What Swagger went through wasn't right. His company is whose tournament it was when all that went down. So then it kind of pushed him, and he felt compelled, because he did see the video of them, what happened at the diner. He felt compelled to go before the board to talk about, initiatives and backing his team that's going to the championship. And so he was working on it, I guess. And so basically Meg had been kind of riding his coattails about it, because she kept telling him, it's not right. So basically you backing them, but you treating Swagger like your side piece, is what she said. And so basically, in a nutshell, like, he followed them all the way to Florida. He made a big donation. And so everybody was pretty much packed their stuff. They was at the airport waiting on their flight. Crystal's father is chaperoning, and Jason's mom is chaperoning, and everybody's sitting in the airport, and Jace is simside Crystal, and Crystal is saying to Jace, like, I can't believe our parents are chaperones on this trip. And Jace was like, yeah, it makes it hard. And she was like, what are you saying? He was like, it makes it hard to kiss you. And she was like, are you really trying to go there right now? And he was like, yeah, like, I want to kiss you right now. And then she was like, me too. And I was just like, it was cute. I'm not even gonna lie, it was kind of cute. Cause I was just like, oh, like, but here we go. Cause I was trying to explain to my mama, like, children, oh my God, children are so innocent. They just, anyway, it was cute. Cause like, it's a happy moment. They going to the nationals. This is something like Jace really wanted. And so he got his best friend there with him. And then he got his teammates there with him. His mom is there, And he was about to meet his dad. He was about to show his daddy, like, what's tea. And so, like, he was just happy. But so Ike gets a phone call that the baby is sick, so he has to stay behind. He leaves. At this point, Jace and Ike are still not on speaking terms. It's still just business, like X's and O's is what they say. It's just X's and O's. And so Raheem and Meg have to coach the boys. And so they get to the hotel. They tell them, like, I'm going to wash your jerseys, boo, boo, boo. Here's your room assignments, boo, boo, boo. And so basically, Jace got the confirmation that he sprained his MCL, and he still was only 3 weeks in, but he still had 3 more weeks that he needed to not be physical. But at this point, like they said in the season, like, at this point, it's too painful for him not to play, knowing what's on the line versus the pain he gonna feel later. That's a whole nother thing. We're gonna talk about that at the end when I wrap this all up. But so after they kind of, get themselves together, get acclimated with their rooms and stuff, I don't know how Jace and Crystal snuck off and where everybody else was. I don't know where everybody else was at. It wasn't even no talking in that scene with them. It was no talking. It was just them on the bridge with the bike. Why he was in the front pedaling the bike, I don't know, because his knee's supposed to be messed up. But whatever. So they was riding down the pier. They got off the bike. The wind was blowing. They was overlooking the ocean. They try to make it real romantic for puppy love, boy. I'm trying to tell you. So anyway, Crystal is kind of looking at Jace. Jace is looking at her. They're giving each other the eyes, the puppy eyes. And then, Crystal proceeds to kiss Jace, and Jace it's not like Jace don't want it, so he participates. And then the scene is over. And so then we going back. So they playing team. I think they lost. They might have won the first game, or they lost the first game. They lost a game. They only lost one game though the whole time they was down there. And so they was playing against all these different teams from all around the nation or whatever like that. And so Jace was on the bench. Jace was on the bench all them games that they was playing. They was gelling. They was meshing. Everybody was doing good. I realized that one of the point guards from that was on Swagger was he Willie? I think he was Willie in the LeBron Shooting Stars movie. But they was all playing or whatever, and so they was winning. They was gelling. They was hooping, bro. They was balling out. Period. And so everything was everything. Like everything was going well. And so I think they only lost that one game because everybody was missing Ike, and so Meg had called Ike and told Ike like, you're not here. Jace is not playing, so it kind of shook. Everybody shook or whatever, and so they had to try to regroup everybody and re-gel them back together, whatever. But they was able to do it. Everybody was able to re-gel, reset, relay, release. They had a little conversation about a pool or whatever. Speaking of pools, because they was out at the pool and they was talking as a team. But I forgot to mention in the prior episode, Jace and Crystal was at the pool and they was talking. And Jace asked Crystal how therapy was going, and she said it was going well. Like the lady just asked me a lot of questions or whatever. And I heard her say the first time I told her about you, but I didn't realize that she said that she was talking about the therapist when she said it. So she didn't. I'm sure she told the therapist how she felt about Jace, but she didn't say all of that to Jace. But you just got to read in between the lines when Crystal was talking. Like, she said she told the therapist about you. She said, I told the therapist about you. And then Jess was like, well, what did you say? And she was just like, well, I just told her that we're best friends. I was like, girl, no, you did. Anyway, she was like, I just told her we were best friends, and she was just basically like, I need to tell you how I feel. And so basically Crystal was like, I don't want to talk about, the situation all the time. Sometimes I want to talk about something else. And so basically she asked what happened between him and Ike, because she saw it. And then he said like, we just had some words. He didn't really say like why they had words. And then he told her about the situation with his father. So he has told Crystal a couple of times about like the situation with his dad or whatever. And so bringing me back to the pool when they was in the hotel. So they was all sitting in the pool, and Crystal had kind of like chin checked them a little bit and was like, y'all know what I've been through, right? And then they ain't saying that. She was like, right? And so they was like, she was like, no excuses. It's no excuses. We got to get this together. And so basically that put like everybody back in place. Everybody was like, yeah, let's do this. And so they playing the game or whatever. And so they're practicing and they hooping out or whatever. And it's the night that Jace and Jackie go to meet their father. And so the mother was sitting on the bed. She wasn't really like the most excited for it. she just was like all in her feelings because she didn't know how to feel, rightfully so, because she just wanted to protect her children. She already knew the situation was already hurtful. It had been 10 years. And so basically, like, she was just trying to keep herself at ease. So Jace goes with Jackie. They go down to a restaurant that's near the hotel to go and meet their father or whatever. You know, they looking for him. He reintroduces himself. Jackie seems to be, you know, happy to see him. She gives him a hug, but Jace meets him with an elbow because he like, nah, playboy, we ain't like that yet. And so he basically tells them, like, I can't remember if he apologized. He may have, or he may have accounted for what he did. He's told them that, you know, things were really, really hard with him and their mom, and that things were going on. He didn't go into detail, which I'm interested to see if they're going to unpack that in the rest of season 2, or maybe address what happened in season 3. I don't know. But so far in season 2, I know that it wasn't really unpacked. Like, the mama and dad had not had a talk and talked about what happened, or she said what happened, or what led them to not be together no more. But he was like, me and your mom, we just ain't. He was just like, and it would have been bad for y'all. And so Jackie was like, so you just decided to leave and don't come back? You told me you was coming back after 2 days. He was like, you was 6. Like, I'm guessing he thought because they were so young that they wouldn't have remembered what he said. He was like, you were 6 and Jace was 4. And then Jace looked down and saw a maze. By this time, Jackie has gotten up and she's crying. And then I think she went back to the room and she was crying. And so the mama was there to console her. But Jace stayed down on the pier. And the father walked up to him and was just like, you understand to go out into the world and be treated like crap, and then to come home and be treated like crap. And so Jace was like, so you just bailed out? Like, you just bailed out? And so Jace was like, I want you to come to my game. So at this point, they were going to play the championship game. He was like, I want you to come to my game. So what Jace did was, after Jace left, Jace goes back to the pool and he calls Ike on the phone. And he tells Ike he met his dad. His dad just did nothing but make excuses the whole time he was talking to him. And at that moment, it was a touching scene, because I think Jace, you know, he came to terms with his feelings of unworthiness that he felt. Because he was just like, what did I do for my daddy to not want to be there for me? Because children don't care what happened between the parents, as long as you play your part and you there for them. Because that's the most important part, them. Like, if you can't be loyal to your kids, you can't be loyal to anybody. And so Jace was just like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, he was like, I feel like a piece of crap. And he was just like, all he did was, like, he told the coach that he hated his daddy. He was like, you've been more of a father figure to me than in the last couple months that I've known you, then he's been my whole life. And then he told him that he hated him, and he was just crying. And he told Ike that whatever the situation was that he got mad at him for, it wasn't his fault, and it don't even matter. And so at that point, Ike, you know, told Jace that he was gonna send him something. So basically, he sent Jace the tape of what happened in the final game. And Jace and his mama watched it. And his mama need to apologize. Because his mama done stirred the pot and caused all that ruckus and division on the team when she didn't even know the whole dang on story. Not that I owe any of y'all nothing, because he didn't. But it's just a simple fact. It's the principle. It's the principle of the matter. It's the principle of it all. But anyway, um, so Jace comes turns that Jace after that goes get two big bags of ice. He go to his mama room, pour the water in that tub, pour that ice in that tub. He said he got to make the swelling go down. He got to play tomorrow. He is playing tomorrow. Period. Point blank. And so after that, he has a conversation. He goes out on the beach the next day. He calls Ike. Ike tells him he's on his way to Daytona. So he's like, okay, true. And so when Ike gets to Daytona, Ike has a conversation with Jace's mom. And he asks Jace's mom, does he have permission to play? Because Ike is not going to say that Jace can play without his mama's permission. So his mama was like, her being who she is, she want her son to win. She want her son to be out there. She want her son to make it. She gonna do anything to make sure that he out there. And so she was like, Ike was like, kids don't understand, like, you know, the future. They only see the right now. And so she was like, well, it's gonna hurt him more to sit out than it is to play. So she was like, let him do it. So Ike started off the game without Jace being in it, but eventually he put Jace in the game. And at first Jace was playing like he was scared, because he was, rightfully so, been there, done that, hurt my knee. I understand, Jace. I understand. I definitely played scared when I first started playing. Child, I was scared. I put 2 knee braces on. I had a knee brace on and a knee sleeve and a knee pad on top of the knee that I hurt, because if I fail, I won't go hurt nothing, okay? Period, point blank. I understand. And so, Jace is playing or whatever, and he's not doing well when he first starts. He's not doing well. He's not, nothing sticking. He's not making none of his baskets. And it's going kind of rough for him. It's not until his daddy, he looks in the crowd, he sees his daddy, and boy, that light a fire under him. Next thing you know, Jace was going off. Jace is passing the ball. Jace is making plays. Jace is all over the court, like, and they was down too. They was losing. They was on their way back. They was back in the game. And next thing you know, Jace does some kind of play. He falls, hurt his knee. I think he was just a little tweak. He ain't like re-injured the whole thing, but he fell. Who was there to get my boy off the floor? The other half of Chase. Woo! Crystal was there to get her man off the floor. Shut up. Everybody move. Let me stop. She didn't do all that, but she just ran. She saw him on the floor. She picked him up just like he picked her up off the floor that last game before they got to the tournament. And they kept playing. Next thing you know, they down 2. No. Yeah, they down 2. They was down 2. It's like 7 seconds on the clock. Jace trying to get to the other end of the court. Jace pull up on that. He pull up and shoot that 3. Everybody looking like, and it go in. So everybody's lit. Everybody's lit. They won by 1 point. Nobody can believe it. So then the lady of the announcer at the tournament comes in the middle of the floor, you know, says the other team, you played well, but our champions are Swagger DMV. Hands Ike the trophy. Ike thanks everybody. He thanks Meg. He thanks Raheem. He thanks his wife. He thanks his daughter. He thanks the players. Then the lady said, and our MVP is Jace Carson. He go up there, get his trophy. She hand him the mic for the speech. My boy walk off. He walks off the floor, and I'm thinking he walking to give the trophy to his mama. He walked past his mama. He walked up them steps. He walked to his daddy. He let his daddy have it. Oh, Lord Jesus. I was so embarrassed for that man. I was embarrassed. I was like, ooh, you ought to be ashamed, sir. Jace told his daddy he was not a piece of crap. He was like, you treated him like a piece of crap. He was like, you left me, my mama, and Jackie. He was like, and I just want you to know that I, Jace Carson, am the #1 player in the nation. And you need to see what you left behind. And handed that man a trophy and walked back down and hugged his mama. Oh, Lord Jesus. I was like, somebody get that man face up out the bleachers. His body is standing there holding the trophy, but his face is on the ground. Somebody console that man. Oh, Lord. Oh, God. That scene reminded me of the part of Madea, Meet the Browns, when Angela Bassett's son, Lance, I don't know what his name is. Was it Calvin? It might have been Calvin. In Meet the Browns, when his son went pro and his daddy tried to show up and was like, that's my son, that's my son. And he was like, ain't you missing out on your $25 an hour? Oh, Lord. I was like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing. It's just so sad. Like, oh, God. It's so sad that that's the story for so many young guys, that, especially in basketball, I can't speak for no other sport because I don't pay attention to other sports like that. But I know for basketball, a lot of times it's that same story. The mother had to raise the son by herself, and then the daddy was nowhere to be found, and he make it. Because that definitely was kind of the story in LeBron Shooting Stars movie. And I was just like, oh, I couldn't imagine not being in my child life. And then next thing you know, they the #1. I'd have missed out on all of that. They the #1 player in the nation. No. I couldn't imagine. I just couldn't imagine. That's a lot. Like, that's wild. So that's it. Musa wins. Musa calls Tamika, and he tells Tamika he love her. And that's season 1, y'all. Let me know what y'all think. Season 1 was good. Y'all know that in season 2, the whole altercation between Crystal and the coach and them banking the coach is going to come back up in season 2. So I'll be back with the reviews for season 2. But I hope you enjoyed my reviews for season 1. Let me know what you think down below, please. Also, go and stream Swagger. That I'm not getting paid to promote nothing. I just like when it's a good show. I just love a good show. Especially a show that pulls emotions out of it and makes you feel like you on screen. Most of the times, I just watch TV for entertainment. But that show right there, like I said, I don't think it's ever been no basketball show where I just was like engulfed in, like I could relate. Like, there's so many aspects of the show I can relate to because like I lived a part of that. But like, yeah, y'all. Stay tuned for season 2. And Swagger season 2 episode 5 be out on Friday. So you gotta hurry up and catch up. Binge watch it before we get there. And I'll be back with more videos. Deuces.